For many years at KTIB, a familiar voice to Friday Night Football was Marvin Dugas. Let's hear about his memories of high school gridiron action. Marvin Dugas, how you doing today?
Doing great, William. Good to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay, Marvin, let's start from the beginning. Where are you originally from?
I was born and raised right here in Donald, Louisiana, just inside North Terrebonne Parish.
Okay, now tell me, was broadcasting always something you were interested in growing up?
Yes, it was. I always enjoyed watching football and sports and listening to broadcasters, and I grew up listening to guys like Pee Wee Reese and Dizzy Dean, those type guys, and the old football announcers, and I really enjoyed that. And I always hoped that one time in my life to have an opportunity to do some games on radio.
All righty. Well, then let's start from there. Was KTIB your first job in radio?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Steve Cabral was a personal friend of mine, and in the latter part of the 91 high school season, he approached me about doing some games, and I started doing some call with him and continued to do so and really enjoyed it.
Okay, how long did that last?
From the latter part of 91 till 97. All
righty. Well, now, in those years that you did high school football, and like I said, countless games you did and probably a ton of memories, is there any that seemed to stand out first?
I know back in the mid-90s, we went to Kaplan, and E.D. White played Kaplan in the first-round playoff high school AAA ball game. It was a great game. It was one of the best games we ever did, I thought. It came down to like a last possession, and E.D. White was able to score and win the ball game. And it was just a great ball game, very exciting from start to finish. And I thought it was one of the best high school games that Steve and I ever had the opportunity to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, I talked to Steve a little bit earlier, and he mentioned a story which I have to get your comments on. He thinks around 91 or so that Thibodeau High School was hosting East St. John in a game that Thibodeau High just ran over East St. John. And he remembers reading the weather forecast at the beginning of the broadcast where the temperature around game time was probably in the mid-40s and was scheduled to fall into the upper 30s, and you happened to show up for the game wearing an LSU T-shirt and shorts.
Well, that's true, Liam. I was kind of warm-blooded guy back then. I'm still kind of warm-blooded, so that's kind of my general attire for football, and that's my attire when I attend LSU games. So I didn't see any reason to change my attire. I was pretty consistent all the way through, actually.
And also, let's bring up that 91 season, because that was also a pretty exciting year in broadcasting with you and Steve, because I believe in back-to-back games, y'all called South Terrebonne's 4A championship and Thibodeau's 5A championship.
Right. That was a great year for football down the Onabite. Yes, sir, it was.
Yeah, and pretty exciting football. He mentioned David Butler helping to set up South Terrebonne in their win, but I'd like to get your opinion on a game. I was ironically in Monroe at the time listening to radio when Neville played Thibodeau. Right. And I do remember it seemed like there was almost never, there was always an exciting play in the game, real close, especially in regulation, and then it goes to overtime, and I bet y'all got really excited in the booth when Neville had that fumble, I think, in the first possession of OT.
Right. That was a great game, William. It was very evenly contested, and it was just the way you kind of draw up for a championship game and you want to see it happen. It was just like a head-to-head contest where no quarter was given on either side, and both teams just played their hearts out and left everything on the field. I thought it was a great ball game.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, my memories are listening to it off of another outlet out in Monroe. Then Thibodeau gets the ball, and on first down, I think they faked the field goal, ran right for a couple yards, and then David Constar kicked the winning field goal on second down.
Correct. And Steve may have mentioned this, but they were playing in the Superdome. There were two sets of hash marks. And what happened was the actual set of hash marks, which were the inner hash marks, which should have been the high school marks, were mistakenly not used, and the ball was actually placed on the hash marks that actually gave him a little better angle to kick a field goal. That's kind of one of those little hidden things that happens during the game that people tend not to see and not to think about.
But I take it, Marvin, all the years that you were doing high school football with Steve, outside of obviously LSU playing on a Saturday, that nothing seemingly beats Friday night football in South Louisiana.
No, I think it's great for the kids. It's a great game, and families come out and support their sons and daughters, and the bands play and the cheerleaders cheer and the tough squads do their thing, and I think it's a great thing, and I always did enjoy it. And I think it's a great family outing. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Were there any other real funny moments involved that you remember either working with Steve or maybe some other exciting plays that occurred in the games you called?
Well, I'll bring this one up. I don't know about being funny, but we were doing the game, and I'm not going to name the high school, but they were warming up, and they did pregame warm-ups. So we were watching the warm-ups and writing down lineups and getting ready for the game. So the team ran back on the field, and they lined up, and the quarterback was nowhere to be found. The kid that was warming up, So I'm looking around, we're looking around. I sent a friend of mine down there to figure out, see what's going on, Well, come to find out, the young man, unfortunately, in between the warm-ups, going back to the dressing room and coming back out for the start of the game, apparently he had a change of heart between himself and the head coach, and he just took his uniform off and went home.
Boy, that must have been a shocker.
There was a different quarterback, and the young man that was warming up was nowhere to be found. It was a crazy thing. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Boy, I don't think I'd ever expect to see that before a high school game.
That was unbelievable.
Wow, but I'd say, but I definitely can tell by the tone in your voice, even though, like I said, it's been a few years, that must have been one heck of an enjoyable ride for you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, William. It was a great time, and I thought Steve and I meshed well together, and we had a very good rapport, and we enjoyed doing the games, and we really appreciated the opportunity. It was a great experience. It was.
One thing I need to ask you about, because you and I happen to know a very kind gentleman in Terrebonne Parish, Troy Johnson.
Right.
And he had mentioned that either very recently, at the time we're doing this interview, that you're in Sports Illustrated?
Yes, Sports Illustrated puts out a game day weekly magazine, and they came down and covered our tailgating group called the Cool Ragoon. And my picture was in there, and they did a little interview, and it was a very nice little article. So we're somehow or another fortunate enough to get into the Sports Illustrated Game Day magazine, which is, kind of hard to believe for some more raging cases from down here on the bayou.
Mm-hmm. I take it you've probably been following LSU since you were a kid?
Yeah, I grew up listening to the games on radio with my dad, and I've always been a big LSU fan, and as I got older, I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the games, and I really enjoyed going to the games. We have a great time. We have a real good tailgate group I get together with, and I enjoy being in Tiger Stadium. I think when you're out there and the band comes out and the team runs on the field, that's just an experience that just everybody ought to see that one time or another.
Oh, well, when did you go to your first Tiger game?
I was in 7th grade. I was about 12, 13 years old, and my cousin and her husband, they had played in high school bands, and LSU used to do a band night thing, and they had both finished high school. But LSU had a band night game, and they took me to the game, and I got to see the band night and see the LSU game. LSU was playing TCU, as a matter of fact. I still remember the game.
Dare I ask, what year was that?
I want to say it was like 1962.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned listening to the radio. Do you remember listening for Billy Cannon's Halloween run?
Certainly, definitely. I listened to Mr. J.C. Police and also John Ferguson, the voice of the Tigers, and I've gotten to know Mr. Ferguson real well, and it was a great experience just listening to those guys on radio. It was tremendous. And
I'm willing to bet that you probably think Jim Hawthorne does a good job, too.
Yeah, I think Jim is very professional, does a tremendous job, and I think he's very, very, very good, and like I said, he's very, very much a professional. He does a great job.
Well, Marvin, it's good to know that not only is high school football close to your heart, that obviously you have a great passion for LSU. In fact, I want to tell the listeners we were originally supposed to do this interview on another night, but that was the night that you go up and see Nick Saban do a show in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and I want to apologize for that. I kind of forgot that. I was wanting to go see Coach Saban have his show, but I appreciate you giving me the second opportunity. Thank you, William.
Okay. Also, do you go up there to see a show every Wednesday?
I try to make it every Wednesday. Yes, we do. We have a group that gets together and go early, and we usually bring Coach some Little Debbie oatmeal cookies, which is one of his favorites, and he kind of looks forward to it every Wednesday. So, we kind of like some regulars.
I tell you what, we'll have to give you an accommodation one day for all your just for your driving time to go up there.
Well, that kind of ties into my job. I'm in sales and I travel a lot, have a lot of territory to cover. So I try to figure my schedule to where I have the best of Baton Rouge at the right time.
All righty. Well, listen, Marvin, really appreciate your time. And before we go, is there anything you'd like to say to all our listeners?
I'd just like to say I appreciate the opportunity to do the games. I would ask everyone to get out and support high school football, support the kids in all the high school athletics. I think it's very important nowadays for our young people to be involved in athletics and doing things. I think the more that you have kids involved in things like that, the less problems you can have with them down the road, because they learn teamwork, they learn respect, and they learn to be better people, and not really believe that big Tom Williams.
Marvin Dugas, a very colorful character for a colorful radio